Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Just wait for some people to come on. I don't know why Facebook always has that slow connection. Get some people some time to come on. So some time to de-escalate my day. All right, people. I have Instagram on my left. I have Facebook in the middle, and I have Instagram there. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I'm sorry. Oh, my head's kind of jumbled. And that's why you hear the music in the background. I'm trying to center myself. I had a hard week at work. Work wasn't hard. It's just that we have a new programming system, a new electronic record that we have to maneuver. Um, it's been taking us a while to try to get used to something new. It takes everybody a long time to get used to something new. Excuse me for 1 minute. I just had to turn everything off a little bit. It was drowning me out, I think. So yeah, we got this new electronic system at work, and I feel like it was kicking my butt. It's not. I just have an issue sometimes getting incorporated with new. It's been today's the third day of we got this system on Monday. It's fairly easy, but just operating in it, it's got my head all going together. All right, so let's get into it. First thing we want to do is our midweek check-in. And I think you can see it a little. I don't know how YouTube is so bright over there. Our midweek check-in, our midweek check-in, our midweek check-in. Okay. So I put on here this afternoon. I think I posted around like 5:30 for a pink emoji heart. I'm having some harmony and balance in my life. I'm able to get some things done. I'm happy with that. Um, if you're joining me from Facebook, I believe I tagged myself in this. I am not on my personal page any longer. Um, I post on my personal page the next day after I do the live on my cottage house page. Um, my page got hacked before, and when they see it's a nonprofit organization, they try to get money. So they went through the whole system. I had to get them a whole new page. They were able to give me back, I believe, my personal page, but I had to make a whole new a private page for the cottage house or for the Trap Lounge. So if you're not on, go grab. If you don't see me, grab Instagram. I'm on Instagram. If you don't see me, grab YouTube. It's called the Trap Lounge on YouTube. So our mental health check-in, if you're checking in tonight, if you're doing great, put up that red emoji heart. If you're doing okay, put the blue emoji heart up there. If you're doing math, put a yellow emoji heart up there. If things are tough and you're struggling, put the green emoji heart up there. If you're having a hard time and you wouldn't mind if someone reached out to you, put the purple emoji heart up there. I will reach out to you later. I will. If you're in a really dark place, put the broken emoji heart up there. If you're in a really dark place and you need somebody to speak to you now, please disconnect from this live and dial 988. Again, if you're having some balance and harmony in your life, put the pink emoji heart up there. If you're feeling optimistic and uplifting, put the orange emoji heart up there. If you're feeling like the poopy emoji heart, the brown emoji heart will be descriptive for you. If you're having mixed emotions, some blankness, innocence, and minimalism, put the white emoji heart up there. If you're feeling cool and self-restraint, put the gray emoji heart up there. If you're feeling relaxed and friendly, put the light blue emoji heart up there. And if you're having some sadness and anger, put the black emoji heart up there. Okay. Our mood check. I do this every week. I posted on TikTok. I posted on I didn't post it tonight on YouTube. I was really into things tonight, but I did post it on Instagram and Facebook. This is always there. This is something fun to use with your kids and with your adults, your adult children or anybody. Sometimes people don't want to talk, so it identifies how they're feeling, what they're feeling. You can do your own identifying how they're feeling and what they're feeling. Checking in. So tonight, let me make sure. Because I did not print out. There's a lot of stuff going on in June. Okay. Remember, I said I was going to make sure I was having a lot of awareness within the month. So June is National Migraine and Headache Awareness Month. Build awareness of how migraines affect those living with them and how to get help. I am one of those people that migraines affects me really, really, really badly. And June is also PTSD Awareness Month. I'll talk about that sometime during this week on a Wednesday. But however, I just learned that June is Men's Health Awareness Month. So that's our topic for tonight. Starting June with men's health awareness. Why men's health awareness? Well, ladies, we all know that our men don't go to the doctor, they don't go to the dentist. They think they never get sick. And it's futile that we push our men to get help physically, but not just physically. You want them to get help if they're having any emotional issues, right? If they're having any emotional issues, if they're having any mental health issues. If you are married, your husband is supposed to be your best friend. So if your husband's having any issues, any crisis, anything going on, you're going to be the first person that they talk about it. Hey, Ms. Rios. If it's not you, it might be a close friend, a close relative, and that close friend and close relative will be talking to you about it. But sometimes men go through things on their own, mental and physical, that they don't want their wives to worry about, they don't want their parents to worry about, they don't want their families to worry about. But if God placed them as the head of household, I say we honor them and allowing them to have that space to say, we're here, we hear you, we're available, we support you. I have 2 grandchildren, they're very young. I have a husband. I'm going to say he's very young too. I have a son. I have brothers, right? They're all men. They all have different personalities. They go through things from time to time. They will call me from time to time, and not just to tell me that things are going on mentally or whatever, just to call me, right? And then I'll do a check in. I know what my husband, he doesn't go to the doctors. He's afraid of the dentist. He's not going to the dentist. Um, but I have to get on him sometimes. Like you say you're healthy because you don't get sick. We don't know what's going on in our bodies, and just to have a basic checkup, right? It'll make me feel better as his wife, right? Miss Reeves, that's what I'm saying. We have to not. I mean, maybe put that on our honey to-do list, right? We have those lists for when you need your husband or your spouse, significant other to fix something around the house, maybe to wash the car, whatever that honey to-do list is, right? That should be one of the things that we put at the top of the list. I'll go over some screenings that men need to have when they get to a certain age in a minute. But I did want to go over something that was kind of like not misunderstood. It's the way we use the word mental health and mental illness, right? They're interchangeable. Before I even start on men's health awareness, mental health and mental awareness are interchangeable, but they're not the same. Your mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps us determine how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and how we make healthy choices. Mental health is an important part of our overall health, like your physical health, right? It's an important part of your overall health and your well-being. Mental health includes your children's, mental, emotional, and behavioral well-being. Okay. It deals with how we handle stress and how we relate to others and how we make healthy choices. Mental illness. So, understanding the difference between mental health and mental illness. Everyone has mental health. Everyone has it. Everyone has mental health, right? But not everyone receives a diagnosis involving mental illness. Mental health includes your overall well-being. I just said that. Mental illness are diagnosable mental health conditions. Remember, a long time ago when I started the Trap Lounge, I explained you cannot have a mental illness if you have not been seen by a psychiatrist or psychologist for a diagnosis. A lot of people call and say, "Yeah, I think my wife has bipolar disorder. I think my cousin has schizophrenia," and you'll ask, "Well, when were they diagnosed? Or, when did they go see a doctor?" They haven't. So you're assuming that they have this diagnosis. They might meet the criteria and they may have the symptoms for it. Mental health, again, includes your overall well-being. Mental illness is a diagnosable mental health condition, while mental health is always there and may be positive or negative. So you can have good mental health and you can have negative mental health. Mental illness affects a person's ability to function over a long period of time. Mental illness is not the same as feeling sad, unhappy, or stressed because of difficult situations. So look at it this way: the same way you have your physical health, diabetes, you have to go to the doctor. You might have to take insulin for that. You might have a bad diet. Or like me, I'm diagnosed. I'm right now. They have me as borderline diabetic, so I'm not a diabetic yet. They're looking, at my blood every 3 months, and at my eating habits every 3 months. So in order for me to stay in my physical health, I have to make sure I'm eating properly. I have to make sure I'm exercising properly, getting my proper sleep. Now, if I stop doing those things, I will slide over and my doctor will diagnose me with diabetes. Now that means my physical health has changed. The same thing with your mental health. You can cope well with stress at work, at home, dealing with people out in the street, and then one day you can just not cope. And you're sad, you're sad more than 2 weeks in a row. You have lack of energy, you stop doing things that you like to do, you start isolating yourself, you become more irritated and agitated, you're not eating. Now it's affecting how you cope and how you deal with people and how you make decisions. Now you go and say, well, let me go talk to, again, the first person that you talk to about your mental health is your primary care doctor. Go to your primary care doctor. Your primary care doctor is going to be the one that's doing the depression screening, or they do a mental health screening. If you don't know it or not, they're going to do a mental health screening. They're going to ask you 4 or 5 questions. Have you ever been depressed? Have you ever had any suicidal thoughts? All those questions. You answer yes or no to any of those 5 questions, then your doctor will come in and they'll talk to you about your mental health. They may refer you to see an outpatient therapist or psychiatrist, and then you'll go see the outpatient therapist and psychiatrist. You'll get an evaluation there, and that's when you may get diagnosed with depression. Okay, so your mental health and mental illness, they're interchangeable, but they are not the same. Now let's get into this Men's Health Awareness Month. Men's Health Awareness Month is an issue that all men face, all men and boys, because boys grow up to be men, right? So this month is dedicated to enriching men's health and wellness through the broad spectrum of national screenings, educational campaigns. Men are more likely to smoke and drink. Men on an average die at almost 5 years earlier than women. Men are reluctant to go to the doctors. They put off routine checkups. Men older than 50 should have a yearly physical exam. And if you're younger than 50, I don't believe this, but this is what it says. If you're younger than 50, you should have a physical exam every 3 to 5 years. Maybe they put it to every 3 to 5 years because y'all don't go anyway. So some of the screenings that they recommend with this article that I was reading out of Men's Health, some of the screenings that's recommended for men from ages 40 years old to 65 is to have your blood pressure checked, colorectal cancer checked, your cholesterol screened, your dentist appointment, your diabetes type 2, eye exam, and immunizations, infectious diseases. We talked about that earlier with my uncle on the line. Shout out to my Uncle Bobo. Lung cancer, osteoporosis, physical exams, prostate cancers, skin exams, and testicular cancer. These are all the screenings that men are supposed to get done from 40 to 65. The number one thing they really had on here was that prostate cancer. I know that procedure for men is very uncomfortable. I know it gets a little personal. Some men do not like it. She said her friend has gone through a lot of what you're talking about. Can you send me this info? I sure can. Ms. Rios. I can send it to you. So with men, I can say, because I'm a Christian, I can say I think this stems back to Adam. And I'm just going to say this on a, this is nowhere biblically. This is just Kimble mind thinking. Adam was created first. God allows him to have dominion over the birds, the fish, and the animals. There was no sickness when they were in the Garden of Eden. So Eve came along to be Adam's helpmate. There was no sickness in the Garden of Eden. There was only sickness after they sinned. It never says, because Adam blamed Eve, right, for eating the fruits. But it never says what happened after they were cast out of the Garden of Eden. Did Adam have any animosity of what was going on? Because now he had to work for what he needed. And that stemmed right there, the pressure of manhood, the pressure of someone being the protector, the provider, and the head of household. Adam had to now work for what he needed. And so all men have that in their DNA. Every last man. If it started from Adam, from the beginning in the Garden of Eden, once he came through sin, sickness came in us, right? And he had to work He had to work from the muscle. He had to grind. He had to hustle for to eat, to make sure his wife and his kids were safe. So to provide for his kids, he's the head of household. It's God, then husband, then wife, then children. This is from the beginning of time. So if Adam had this in his mindset, and it's in everybody's, it's wired in every man's DNA. It's wired through society that men literally can't take a break, that they have to wear the world on their shoulders. So women, I can say we charge a lot of this, and we add on to stress some time for our mates and our husbands. I don't necessarily nag. I'm gonna say it one time and that's it. that's this. This is my third. Listen, I got one time to say it and that's it. I don't nag. One time, once a year, when you gonna go to the dentist, when you gonna go get a physical. But we add a lot onto our significant other stress. We don't necessarily ask them at times, how are they doing? How are they feeling physically? Because we see what we see with our eyes is they're okay. I don't know if men communicate well with their significant others, or they talk, about what's going on in their minds physically, if they're going through something physically. Because a man can come home and say, I had a hard day at work. And that's it. That's all he'll say is, man, I had a hard day at work. You won't believe I had a really hard day. He'll go take a shower. His food is ready. He'll eat. He'll watch TV. He might watch the sports network. And then that man is right back in the bed, and he's getting up again, going back out the house to hustle, to work, to bring home the bacon, to make sure his family is protected. So the physical, and I always say this, we're a whole system: mind, body, soul. If the physical gets, if it gets out of whack, it's going to happen with the emotional. And if your emotional gets out of whack, your spiritual is going to get out of whack. And when I say out of whack, if something's going on, when men have colds, and I do know this, when men get sick, some act like babies. They act like little children. They can't move. You have to, nurture them and take care of them. But however, if men get sick, they hide it. You'll see them with a sweatshirt on, a towel underneath the sweatshirt. They'll have the hoodie on, and they're in the basement, probably punching a punching bag or lifting weights, trying to sweat it out vigorously, because they don't want to be perceived as weak at that moment, or being the one being taken care of. So let's talk about the mental and emotional health of a man. About 31% of men suffer depression in their lifetime, and 9% of men have daily feelings of depression or anxiety, but only 1/4 men talk about it to a mental health professional, and only 1/3 take medication. So these are some, pay attention to signs of depression, and don't be afraid to seek help. This is for men. Men, I can say, when I was working in outpatient, men showed depression differently. They shut themselves off. They may have threw themselves into work more. They may have thrown themselves into a project around the house more. Oh, I forgot I was supposed to be fixing this door, getting this cabinet built, changing these light bulbs. They will do all of that. They will keep going. Because if they stop, they have to deal with what they're thinking and what they're feeling. Both of them have to be attached. Their thoughts and their feelings have to be attached. They have to line up. So if a man keeps working, his thought process is he has to measure the door. He has to make sure he has the right screws, the right tool. So his mind is thinking. So his feelings, the way he feels, is not measuring up or not adding up with his thoughts in his head. They have to keep working. He might even go out and join a sports team. Men, I can say, are like, we're all mammals. We are. You'll laugh at this. Like we say now, men talk a lot. We never knew that men talk a lot. Let me see how I'm gonna put this so it it don't make a man feel mad right now. When they find their tribe, that group of people, that swarm of people, those other men that they can connect with, they're always connected to those men. Those men know what's going on. Those men lift them up. Those men help them through it. But those men don't know the intricate stuff. Not all the time. Not all the time. Because they don't disclose it. Because to those men, they're going to them and saying, listen, man, I felt this way last night. And the other guy saying, yo, you got to pull up, homie. I mean, get your weight up. They need to hear that. Get your weight up. It ain't about nothing. Get yourself together. They're not saying you need to go see a doctor. They're not saying, oh, that sounds like I was going through the same thing. No, they're telling them, man up. You got a whole house, a whole wife, whole kids that you have to take care of. You can't call out of work. I just told a guy today, does your job know about mental health? And he was like, yeah. I said, well, take a mental health day tomorrow. He was like, oh, well, wouldn't that be like lying? And I told him, I said, I'm going to be cold and I'm going to be frank. Cold mean I'm going to tell it to you straight like it is. Frank is just me being honest. That's just my keys when I'm online. I said, your job ain't going to care if you miss one day of work. And I said, you're calling the crisis hotline. You need a mental health day. I don't know how many sick days my husband get a year. He never takes a sick day. He never takes a sick day. Maya Linda, you still on here? How many times have your husband taken a sick day? Ms. Rios, how many times if your spouse, if your significant other took a sick day? I get sick time, sick hours. If I get sick, I'm going to take off. Now it's going to cost me a lot because we do it too, women. It'll cost me a lot. Like if I'm in pain, I have a high tolerance of pain. I'm gonna just work myself through it because I'm not as active now. I work on a hotline. I sit down all day. I'm not as active now. I can, sit down and work myself through the pain. But if my pain tolerance is at a high, I'm not going to work. A man will go to work and his arm is hanging half off. It's out the socket. He'll go to work. He'll go to work. I got all of these. Let me see. So the Indiana University School of Medicine. There was an article that Christina Griffin wrote in June 22nd of 2023 about certain medical issues that men fear. One is prostate cancer. Um, it's the second leading cause of cancer or deaths for men in the United States. A man is 2 to 3 times more likely to get prostate cancer if his father, brother, or son had it. Now, how would you know? Because if you don't go to the doctor, your dad ain't going to the doctors, your brother ain't going to the doctors, your mother may be taking your kids to the doctors, their sons to the doctors, but after a certain while, your sons don't go to the doctors either. Now, I know in my family, on my maternal side, there is heart disease. I believe two of my uncles died of heart attacks. Two of my mom brothers died of heart attacks. And My cousin and my great uncle both passed away from heart attacks. And I don't even know if my cousin, because it was my great uncle was his father, even knew he was in risk of heart failure or having a heart attack. I'm telling you things personal about my family. And every time we would see them, they looked good. You know, they didn't seem sick or anything like that. No, she not calling me. Miss Deborah, you know I'm on live right now. She probably saying that she don't see me again. I am not on my personal page on Facebook. I am on the Cottage House page on Facebook. If you cannot find me on Facebook, go to Instagram. But I'm not on my personal page. I will no longer be on my personal page for Facebook. I have to separate the two. I am a person. I'm an individual that has different thoughts and different feelings. They sometimes merge together, but I'm a person. I'm not going to put both of them together. My nonprofit with my personal page doesn't mix. So prostate cancer is the second leading cause of death for men. I think that's when you get your prostate check, they do it, and I'm going to be discreet here, rectally. Men don't do that. I think you have to be what 40, babe, to go get your prostate check. And women, I got a prostate exam, not a prostate. I have a colonoscopy coming up. I don't have a prostate exam, but I have a colonoscopy coming up in July. And my sister told me about that. I was like, well, I want to get that done. I don't want to get that done. But I go to the doctors. I go. This is one that's going to make people feel a little bit erectile dysfunction. This affects nearly 30 million. I'm about to say 300 million. It says 30 million men of all ages across the United States. That is a sign that something is wrong physically. It's also a sign that something is wrong mentally. Now, men can't fathom this because it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. When you're not satisfied with life, when you're feeling worthless, helpless, and hopeless, and you're not feeling appreciated at home or at work, and then those things from your childhood are running up on back of you, and you got that monkey on your back, and you're fighting those signs of depression, erectile dysfunction can creep up on you. You're not satisfied with your life. Again, I told you that your brain and your heart have to talk to each other. We sometimes say, women, we do, that their brain is down here. So when some men, again, when I worked in outpatient, when some men came in, and it didn't matter how old they were, they would come in, and that was a question on the intake. Because believe it or not, on Maslow's hierarchy of care, I believe that's in the second thing. First is making sure you eat, you have shelter, and have clothing. And then the next thing is, love and compassion, and all those things. It's the second thing on there. If you want to say love and compassion, you want to say sex and comfort and intimacy, it's there. And so when a man is feeling not loved, worthless, helpless, not appreciated, sometimes that body part doesn't work. And when that happens, he just feels like, why am I here? I'm less than a man now. My wife don't appreciate me. The kids don't give a crap about me. I'm busting my tail at work. I'm not, doing anything. I can't go talk to my mom because she, and I can't go talk to my sisters and then my brother. This stuff is real. These things happen. So when this happens, you have to go see a urologist. Early detection, early warning signs is something, like I said, can be something more serious happening. It can be heart disease. Again, it can be a spike in your blood pressure, high blood pressure. It can be something wrong with your sugar. You can, a spike in diabetes. Those things happen, and depression. Now, mental health awareness. Men's mental health is underreported. That's no surprise to me. Men do not reach out for the support that they need. It's more important to listen to the men in your life. They don't say much anyway. I'm talking to my husband, y'all. They don't say much. Now, I'm a talker. Me and my husband met around COVID. Talk on the phone all the time, from night to day. From night to day, we would get he would get home from work, and I would get home from work, and we would call each other. We would stay on the phone until almost 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, knowing that we both had to get up and go to work the next day, but it was okay. Being married to this man for almost 3 years, come June 26th, and we've been together for 4 years. He says minimum. I do all the talking. He says minimum. I have to literally pull things out of him. Like, how was your day at work? I literally ask my husband every day, how was your day at work? Oh, we chilled today. We didn't really do nothing. Nothing ain't really happened. We had an easy day. Pillow talk at night. What's going on? Is anything you want to talk about? I'll ask him, have you called your daughter? How are those things going? Nothing. When men start to talk, when they get frustrated, when they're irritated, when they're overwhelmed, and they feel the pressure. They feel that pressure. This is a big, that's a big thing. The pressure, the financial issues, especially if they're the only one in the house working. Now, me, I'm a independent woman. My grandmother raised us that way. Make sure you have, make sure you're financially straight. If your husband can't pick up the weight, you're supposed to be there to pick up the weight, and that should be with everyone. But everybody's household is not like that. My husband is not making $100,000 a year, so I understand that I have to work. But so men wear a lot of hats. They have to be financially stable. They're the head of household again. They're the disciplinarian. They're Mr. Clean. They're the plumber. They're the electrician. They're the dad. They're the protector. They're supposed to be your friend first. They're the leader. Hey, Miss Carla, y'all had a hard time following me on Facebook. I apologize if I did. Maybe I should have made that announcement tonight, but I'll make it tomorrow. Miss Nadia, yeah, sure. But what I want you to do is take your personal number out of there and put it in my direct messages, because I don't want anybody to call you or start any mess. People on social media be funny. So take your personal number out, Miss Rios, and put it in my DM. DM it to me, and I'll give you a call. No problem. I'm sorry, Miss Carla. I'm on the cottage houses on Facebook. I'm not on my personal page. I did tag myself in it. I have to come away from my personal page on Facebook, but I'll always post it the next day anyway. Where was I at? Okay, and then so we have men just in general. They don't pay attention to the way they feel physically. Their brain and their heart have to meet and match. They'll keep busy with it. Um, they fear, the sick, getting sick and what's going to happen. Um, then sometimes they're not talking about it, and women, we do that. We do that. I'm not a nagger. Do I nag? Do I nag? No, you don't. I'm not a nagger. Again, I said one time, I don't nag. He grown. I don't have a child. I'm not raising nobody's baby. He's grown. I'm not a nagger. I do get upset. I will get upset. Like, you haven't gone to the doctor in 2 years. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, your token fall off right now. Like, and after that, I'm done. And he just said it. I have good insurance, but I'm done. Long as I go, I'm good. I can nurse them whenever, whatever. We're the nurturers, right? So not only do they carry a lot of weight on their shoulders, they really don't talk much. They get really pressured, and with that pressure, they'll get frustrated, irritated, and all that stuff comes out. And you like, what in the hell? He got stuff coming out from 2014 and what your grandmother said to him then, and you didn't take up for him, and your sister always coming at him, and you like, Dad, sir, like, what's going on? It'll all come out. But then there's also the stigma that the world, society gives men. They make it more difficult for men and boys to reach out for help. Some men still might feel as if people expect them to hide their emotions. And like I said, they homies be like, listen, just man up or be strong for others. Like fathers that lose their sons. They have to be there for the family, maybe their baby mom, maybe their wife, and they cry in silence. They can't quite grieve because the mom is grieving for the child, and the father has to be strong for the mother and for the if they the son had siblings and for the other family members. Have you ever paid attention to a toddler or a 7-year-old when they get mad? Just think about it. Just think about it. When they get mad, when they're upset, or when they hurt, what do you see them do? What do you see that toddler do? They can be 7 years old when they get mad, upset, or when they're hurt. They ball they fist up and go. They don't cry. That boy don't cry. That toddler don't cry. Again, it comes back from the Adam syndrome. Mm-hmm. 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 They have the tantrum, but you don't see that little boy cry. Now you may, if he's 5, he may. He may. And if he's 5 and if he's under his mom long enough, and this is what happens. If he's 5 and he's under his mom long enough, and dad sees that, he be like, give me that boy. You making him soft. Stop that crying. And now dad deals with the son moving forward. And dad shows the son, you don't cry. You don't let nobody see you cry. You don't let nobody see you hurting. So what are you teaching your sons? So not only is society saying men don't cry, man up, men are supposed to be strong, you are now generationally telling your sons, your nephews, your cousins, the coaches on the team is telling these boys, don't cry, man up. We're supposed to be strong. We deal with these type of things. It's a generational thing. I already talked about that. So the first thing, again, like we did with May, which was Mental Health Awareness Month, you have to acknowledge that there's something going on. You can't treat a symptom, and I'm just talking about physical wise. If we're going back to all those things that I named on this screening, let's just go back to infectious diseases. Maya Lynn, if you on this live, right, you still on here, you're gonna laugh at this because she's seeing something today, and I was like, oh, wow, she just came out. She just came out and said this to my uncle. Infectious diseases. Even go to the doctor if they have an STI. They won't go. They'll tell their friend, like, yo, homie, what's going, have you ever had that problem, And they be like, what you talking about? That problem, you know what I mean? Because they're either stepping out on their wives or they stepped out on their girlfriend or their significant other. They're embarrassed. And they go to their friend and say, I'm having some problems. They're like, oh man, you need to go get checked out. And so if you go get checked out and you confirm that infectious disease, now you got to go back to the person that you were committed to explain to them why you actually now went to the doctors. You even go when something's happening with your manpower. You won't go. You wait till you get to the last minute to go and say, yeah, I got a year. So you have to acknowledge that there's something going on physically, even before the mental. If it's a mental health condition, now they see in society, again, they still think it's a sign of weakness or it's a lack of masculinity among some men. I'm going to say some men because some, men do come in. Men do call the hotline. They do want to talk about things. But let's just say here, it says 51.7% of women with mental health conditions, this was in 2001, we go talk to somebody. Only 40% of men with a mental health condition go talk to somebody. But get this, guys, 80% of all suicides is on the men's side. 80%. 80% of men complete a suicide. Now I'm going to talk about toxic masculinity because this is something that I learned. Toxic masculinity is certain expressions of homogenetic masculinity enforced by restrictions in behavior like crying. I just talked about that. Fear based on gender roles that amplify existing power structures that favor the dominance of men. Boys will be boys. I hate that. Wasn't that a mouthful? That was a mouthful. They gave it a name. Boys will be boys is described as toxic masculinity. You will hear this a lot in sports when the kids, either basketball, football, hockey, baseball, you will hear boys will be boys. Let them be boys. Even with wrestling, you'll hear that. You'll even hear that when they're in college and they're pledging. So boys will be boys. They know their limit. They know how far they can go. I can say when I went to high school, I was bullied more by the boys than I was bullied by the girls. Yeah, 80% of men complete suicide. I was bullied more by the boys than I was bullied by the girls. And because I wouldn't back down, And because my brother didn't go to the same school I went to, he had to travel to get to the school I went to. I would just pick a chair up and bust you upside the head. I listen. Your boy. My dad always said a man, a girl, a woman, a girl, whatever, cannot be the man. They're stronger than you. Don't try to fight them. You always see it, pick something up and bust them. So the toxic masculinity, boys will be boys. You're giving your son that generational curse that you have. Now, I have seen lately, you'll see fathers holding their sons. You'll see fathers giving their sons hugs. Not, that not that little, man hug that you give. No, he, bring it in, son, bring it in, son. You'll see a father giving his son a kiss on the cheek. They'll give a strong handshake and then pull them in. I start seeing these things. I believe, I forgot who it was, a Spanish guy. He went on a talk show and he was talking about when he was younger, how he never got affection from his dad. And he felt some type of way. And so he said when he had his son, he knew he wanted to not do that to his son. But of course, we learn by the behaviors that we see. Some of the things he did due to his son, like shut down, I got to go to work. Ain't nobody working but me. Don't ask me about nothing. Don't question me. Those type of things that dominate, that men have dominance. So if I'm the head of the household, I'm the only one that's going to make decisions around here. If I'm bringing home the bacon, I'm the only one that's going to make decisions around here. What I say goes. So if you looked at the YouTube video that I put up there, I put one up there about opioids today, and I think I put one up there yesterday about connections with men. That component, and I'm just, again, I'm a Christian, but it's a certain component that men don't have all in their DNA. We are the nurturers. Women, we are the nurturers. That's how God manufactured us. That's how he made us. That's how he, ruached us. We nurture, we take care of. We're the helper. We're the helpmate. Adam was the provider, the protector. He did all the the toiling of the earth and all those things. And for women, when you're raising your sons, you're not raising him with compassion and empathy and showing him the soft side that all men should have. All men should have it. They feel it, but they gotta be like, wait a minute, that's the soft spot. Now let me get that off me. I can't be that way. I can't be soft. I love when my grandson comes home every Friday, and when he gets here, the first thing he do is see me and he give me a hug. Because he know I like hugs. And before he leaves to go to school, he'll give me a hug. He knows that I like to talk. I know sometimes he probably is not listening to me all the time, but I like to engage with him and talk to him. And so he'll come in the kitchen when I'm in the kitchen juicing, or I'm in the kitchen, putting something away, and he'll come and talk to me. He'll tell me about his week. He'll tell me what's going on with him because I'm going to ask anyway. But I love those little interchanges that we have to give him some of my femininity. And let him know, is there anything that you want to talk about? Is there anything that you're feeling right now that feels strange to you? And because his mom, which is my daughter, learned from me, she has that connection with him as well. Now we give him his space because he's about to be 13. So, he's coming with those hormones and the testosterone is coming up. And he has men in his life that's there. His father's there, his grandpa's there, Mr. Steve is there. He have his RA at school, they're there. So he has many, mentors in his life that he see as that far as that men, as that solid, foundation. But he also has a lot of women in his life that's showing him it's okay to have that soft spot. You know, men have I say a stony heart, a rock hard heart, but they have to in society. You know, back in the day, in my time, in the uh late 80s, early 90s, if you talk, too sweet, or if you walked a certain way, they he fruity, he a little sweet. I know that happened with somebody, God rest his soul. I'm not even going to mention his name, but that happened. They used to say that all the time about this person, and he had all the girls. He had all the girls. Well, because he used to go get his, and this was back in the 80s and the 90s. He used to go to get his feet done, his nails done. So who's in the nail salon at those times? Women. But they always say, I think he got here a little sweet because he had a little soft spot. So men, they are the number one people of abusing substances when these things happen. They hide their feelings, they hide those emotions. If those soft things start coming up, if they are in their thoughts, and what people say now, girls, so we say now, you're in your feelings, you're too much in your feelings. Sheree said, yes, I think that's so important. I have days with my grandson. He gives me a chance to speak to him on one-on-one. She check up on him. She see how everything's going. And yeah, she's that grandma. We have to. We have to. Because if they're looking out in the world and seeing what's going on, and then now they have so much with social media. I forgot, what was that fad that was going on for a while with men that were like liking to groom themselves. What did they call them? Metrosexuals. I was like, he's just a man and not know how to keep himself clean. He likes to look good and smell good. Why you have to add something onto it? That's so the I guess this was the fad when the tight pants and tight suits and things was coming out in them little fancy pointy shoes. They didn't want to be called sweet and soft. So metro sounds a little bit more hard and still masculine. So call me a metrosexual. I'm a man that like to smell good, look good. I go to the salon to get my nails and my feet done. What's wrong with that? My husband said that's still kind of gay. You hear it? You, that's how society has molded our men. They've molded them this way. So when they get frustrated, when they're overwhelmed, when the bills are piling up, and they sometimes can't make it either. They're going to the market as well with the wife, and they only got $200, and they came out with 2 bags of groceries, and he's the only one working, and he's trying to sustain his family. No, wife, you don't have to work. I got this. I'm a protector. I'm a provider. All those things. But then he go and he be alone, and he like, damn, these bills are getting hard. He's not telling the wife that he's backed up on some things. He got to pay this credit card. The same thing single mothers go through. There's a lot of single fathers out here now. I asked my friend the other day, because he always have his daughter. Where the baby mom at? You get along with your baby mom? He was like, nah, she just gave me the child and walked away. Literally walked away from the kid. Walked away. She must have got so fed up. I don't know the situation, but she left this child with this father. Sheree said, I tell him just because the world is doing it doesn't make it right. And I explained to him, wrong is wrong, no matter who is trying to make it. Yeah. But then you got that peer pressure. You have to present yourself a certain way, especially for young men or men of color. And now sometimes it's even for the persuasion of another race. A lot of our Caucasian men or, little boys are out here because they, it came from the swag and the joint and it came from the people of color. The hip, the hop, all that stuff. It came. So if you're not hard, like you had people back in the day like Vanilla Ice, okay, he was a white rapper, right? Then you got people like Eminem. Eminem saying, "Yeah, I'm white, but I had some struggles just like you guys had, and we let them in." And now that we're not segregated, we can see that the other culture has struggles as well. They incorporate those struggles with us, and now they want that swag, and they want to lean back, and they want to be in a struggle because it's a culture thing. But not only is it a culture thing, their fathers are hard on them. You can't hang with Rick and Jay. You have two parents over here. But dad don't know that Rick and Jay understand him. He connects with Rick and Jay. So men will close up and start to use substances. And that's why I put that opioid video on today. A lot of people, if you didn't watch the video, go back and watch it. It's posted on my the Cottage House page. A lot of people, when opioids first came out, and probably still now, if you're not educated about what opioids is, it's another form of dope or heroin. It's a barbiturate. It's very, very addictive. Percocets, Xannies, all those things fall into that category. You have fentanyl now. You have a lot of things that fall in that category. So a lot of men, and again, they said the number one thing that men will do is drink because it's legal, and they're going to drown their sorrows away. But when they're actually, she said that's true. If you raise them up one way, the streets right. The streets sometimes will raise them another way. That's why you have to be honest and correct with them, with the male boys who I raised is important. So, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I know when my son, he had got sick and he was not able to play football. He couldn't play any sports really when he got sick. I had asked him, I was like, how do you feel? Are you hurt? Are you? He's like, no. But we can see it in his grades going down. He had stopped going to school. He didn't even finish going to school for kinesiology, I think it is, sports medicine. And I was telling him, listen, you can still do that. You're just on the opposite end of the spectrum. Instead of you playing a sports, you're helping the athletes out there play it. That didn't sit well with him. So he went on a binge for a minute. He was smoking, he was drinking, he was wilding. And I remember calling him when he lived in California. I said, listen, don't come back to Philly. Do not come back here. My son never went to jail. He never sold drugs. None of those typical things that African and American boys do. Have a corner, have a spot, have baby mamas. And he said, I'm not going to come back to Philly. He's not back in Philly. Praise God. You show him a different light. Even though he's seen, his soldiers fall. He's seen some of his cousins pass away from gun violence. He's seen those things. Sometimes when you're in the trenches, you can't come out of it. We've seen that with the old movie Boys in the Hood, right? Boys in the Hood, their presidents. I'll even put it out there. What was the movie with the four ladies in there? Set It Off. Once you're in the trenches, and again, your tribe is in the trenches, it's hard to come out of that because they'll say, "What you think you too good for us?" Oh, look, he made it out. He's too good for us. And then it'll suck you right back in. Because now you have to prove again that you're the man, that you're hard, that I'm with y'all. You're not. You made it out. Don't be mad that you have an education. Don't be mad that you love your sons. Don't be mad that you respect your woman and you go home. Men, a lot of times, they'll get in trouble for, oh, I can't stay out and hang out with you guys tonight. My wife won't want me home. And they're acting like kids. Oh, your wife won't want. Oh, I thought you was the man in the house. You gotta be home at a certain time. You better. Who wear the pants in the house? You like what? But that's how society has molded them. Fantasia and her husband was on today, and I seen it today. I turned it off for a while because I was like, "Oh, this is getting good." They were talking about submission, wife submitting to the husband, and her husband was like, "Y'all took that as being something of a possession." When a wife submits to her husband, it's a what did he say? It's a process. It's an engagement. It's a conversation. And I was like, wow, that's deep. And then, of course, my uncle had said the same thing on the phone. And I was like, listen, though, I ain't going into that. I'm not submitting to anybody. I'm not going to let you lead me astray. Submission is not that. Submission is not dominance of someone being over you. God gave Adam and Eve both. Of course, he gave Adam first because he made Adam first. But then when God made Eve for Adam, he said, you're to help him. They were both equal. Adam wasn't in front of Eve. She was to help him. When you helping somebody, you have to be side by side. If you're in the back of them, that's because they might fall and stumble. You have to catch that person. Let me get off that. Let me get off that. No. So when and this can be for anybody. When you're abusing substances, it worsens the depression and it worsens the anxiety. Men will start having issues with dating and interpersonal intimacies. You're like, what? Yes, yes, yes. It worsens your anxiety. It worsens your fears. It worsens those thoughts. Once you start drinking, you done had 2 or 3 bottles, and now they're drinking Henny Black and all this other stuff that's very expensive, right? They popping Cristal, all this stuff. They going out to these strip clubs and, making it rain. You done spent your whole mortgage check. Now you got to go home to your wife and you don't have nothing. And so what you do, you start drinking a little bit more heavier. And now it's just not substance, it's abuse and a substance use, right? Not knowing that you're at greater health risk because with your drinking, it might turn into cirrhosis. You might have issues with interpersonal violence. You're out there drunk and you see somebody and they say something to you. And remember, you're already overwhelmed. You're already irritated. You're already agitated. You will not take your anger or frustrations out on your wife or your children. So what happens? You get into a bar fight. What happens? You have road rage. What's happening with these young kids now? These young guys now, soon as you say something to them, they don't want to fight you. Even the women, they don't want to fight you. They pull that gun out and they shoot it. Interpersonal violence. This increases your overall psychological distress. Let me see. And your psychological distress is intolerance of uncertainty. Your emotions are not regulated. You have poor or lack of social support, isolation, financial stressors, and increasing unemployment. Those are all things that affects your psychological distress. You don't feel nobody supports you. You isolate yourself. Again, you have that financial stressors. Maybe you keep getting a job, but it's a low paying job and you always getting fired. You go home to your wife and say, this job didn't work out either. And then you're either borrowing money from your mom or a family member, and they like, damn, when you're gonna get up, when what's gonna happen when you guys gonna get up on your luck. You all been doing this long enough, then that's something that's going on, and it's going around in the family that you just can't get your life together. And this is one of the other things that I found that was incredibly, um, and I think this goes across the board, not just for hey Calvin, not just for um men or people are black men, black indigenous and people of color are just as likely to have mental health conditions as white men, but less access to mental health care. And remember, that's why I was doing the last thing I did in May was to make sure everybody understood how to maneuver your mental health services and resources and those things like that, trying to break those things down to you. If you don't know how to access mental health, you're not going to go out and seek it. You're just not going to do it. You're not going to go out and seek, you know, help for it, resources for it. And back in the day, before mental health became so popular that it's okay for you not to be okay. All right, that's really popular to say. Um, it's okay. All right, it's really popular to say, but what do you do when you're not? And I always say, why wait till it get worse? So when you're checking in on somebody, if they say you like, yo, what's going on? You like, they're like, I'm all right. And you're like, okay, how's your family and everybody? They all right. But they'll say to you, well, I've been kind of down lately. So that person saying, yo, I'm good. Or I can't complain. If you complain, who won't listen? Right? Ain't that some of this? Ain't that what people say some of the times? Can't complain. If I do, who won't listen? That's the indicator. Yo, come over here. Let me talk to you for a minute. Or because we were raised as whatever happens in this house, stay in this house. No matter if it was a traumatic event or not. You didn't tell people your business out in the street. Listen, man, I'm struggling. You know what I mean? I got these 3 kids and my wife's pregnant again, and we're barely making it now, and we trying. We live in this 2-bedroom apartment. We got to move out quick, soon. Your friend looking at you like, listen, I got the same problems you got. So it's not all right to be all right. So are you actually listening to the person? Or do you actually even have enough time to listen if somebody reaches out to you? It says most common mental health illnesses for men is depression, anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and substance abuse. Substance abuse and PTSD um, is more prevalent now. And why I'm saying it's more prevalent now, PTSD, a lot of our soldiers are falling down. A lot of these young men are out here dying. And not only is a lot of young men out here dying, they're killing women and kids. If you're on a block and somebody drop, it was a Spanish guy today. I can't make this stuff up, guys. I can't make it up. A Spanish guy called today, and it came through 911. And I'm like, well, okay, what's going on? He didn't speak English, so I had to get an interpreter, and the interpreter is asking him the questions, and they get down to, okay, the reason why he called was there was a black car outside, 4 men inside. One of the men got out, I guess went to the trunk, retrieved the gun, and got back in the car. The car, he said, has been sitting there for about 2 hours. He said he's calling because they're at a park where all kids are. And I'm like, okay, you're calling the crisis line. We don't deal with these things. And he said in Spanish, and the interpreter said it. Well, I did call 911. I don't know why they transferred me to you. So I transferred the call back to 911, and I had the interpreter, tell the person what was going on. And of course, they sent the car out. I don't know what part of the neighborhood this Spanish guy was in, but he knows, and we all know that things like this could turn bad. Four men in a car, parked for 2 hours. One come out, one get out and get a gun and get back in the car, and it's a bunch of kids in the park. I think Taraji P. Henson brought it to everybody's attention. When our black men are falling like this, it's not natural to just get up the next day and you see it taped off, or you see a body, printed out on the. It's not natural. You see the coroner, medical examiners, spraying the blood away. That's not natural. Or you're walking past and it's a sheet and the body's still here. It's not natural. Our young men are having their friends die in front of them. Or like the guy said, they having these social media beefs, and people like pull up, and when they pull up, they pulling up and they shooting everything. It's not natural. In our minds, the psychological part is we live and then we die. But death by killing is not natural. That's murder. It's a sin. It's not natural. I wish I had some men on here to tell me how many of their homeboys have they seen that died, or people in their neighborhood that have died. If I can think, 3, 4, suicide. 4 that I know, because I moved out of the neighborhood when I was 16. I was going for a minute, but before I left the neighborhood at 16, 4, and I was only 16. 4, 4 friends, or 4 people that I knew in my neighborhood died to gun violence. 4. And I can say at that time, I'm sorry, I'm not that old, but this was going on. There was some turf wars going on. And even back then, people ain't have guns. They fought with their hands. They may have brought a bat or a knife, something like that. Because I even had an incident when I was shaped in my breast. It went through and it came out at the bottom. I still got the little hole there. Those things are not natural. And then your child doesn't talk about it, they hold it in. Some people want revenge. Some people will hold that in and seek it when they get the opportunity. And so if you see your sons and your nephews and your cousins and your uncles and your brothers and your husbands and your significant other, and you see them and you know that these things have occurred, that they lost one of their homies, or a family member or a coworker to gun violence, support them. Let them know. Listen, whenever you're able to talk, remember the first thing I said back here was what? It's important to listen. Now, one thing I have found out, because I do know my husband don't talk that much. He don't say much. But when he do talk, I fall back. And see, I'm coming from the behavioralist side. I'm coming from the psychological side. I turn all that off because that ain't even my job right now. I'm in another zone. I listen. I may ask some concerning questions. I may ask him to prolong his story for him to talk a little bit more, but I listen. I think I was that's my given talent, to listen to people and to dissect things that they're not really saying. You have to listen. So some things, some symptoms, lady, that we can watch out for men if they're feeling sad or down, if they have confused thinking or reduced ability to concentrate, if they have excessive fears or worries or extreme feelings of guilt, um, like if they're absent dads, or if they're going through issues with their child's mom and they're fighting back and forth. Again, this is just my own observation. I don't get into that. I'm not choosing sides. Just be supportive. That's something that they have to go through. Even though I'm married to my husband, I'm not choosing a side. I'm not going through it. I have my own. He laughing because I'm not choosing no side. I'm not going through that. I'm not gonna say I was a single mother. I have 2 children by 2 different men. My son is my godson, but that's my son. Don't choose no side, because you lay with him. Correct him when he's wrong. You ain't go see your child since how long, and you don't know, and you don't understand why this woman is mad at you. Remember, I just told you this guy, when I asked him, I said, you always got your daughter with you. What's going on? He said, yo, she just came one day, dropped her off, and never came back. Like, I'm a single father. I'm like, okay, well, you got it. And I told him, he paused, and he was like, I'm just trying to figure out how can a woman do that. I said, well, listen, I'm telling you like this. Do you think she would have did that if she didn't find that you were capable of taking care of your daughter? Do you think she would have just left her daughter with you if she didn't think you were capable of taking care of her, nurturing her, loving her, and protecting her? And he was like, nah. I said, because you're the other half of her. You're her parent. That's your job. I said, the way she did it was kind of sloppy, but that's your job. When she's not there, you're supposed to be there. Now, sometimes your significant other will withdraw themselves from friends and activities. They'll have significant tiredness, low energy. They'll have problems sleeping. They'll detach themselves away from reality. They'll have those delusions that everything is okay, and it's not. Some will have paranoia, and the inability to cope with daily problems or stress, trouble understanding and relating to situations and to people, problems again with alcohol and drugs, major changes in eating habits, major changes in their sex drive. You might see excessive anger and hostility or some, violence. Again, 80% of men have completed or committed suicide, so they may have some suicidal thoughts. And again, some of these things, the mental things, can show up as physical problems, such as stomach aches, back pains, headaches, or other explained aches and pains. Um, Again, listen to them, give them some space to talk. Listen to how they're feeling, and you can be really helpful if you don't try to fix the problem. Don't try to fix the problem. They might not even be looking for you to fix the problem. Again, women, we nurture. So we're going to try to help and do some stuff. Don't try to fix the problem. They're not looking for you to fix the problem. They're looking for you to talk. They're looking for you to be supportive. Sometimes if your man has a heavy load, he'll tell you what he wants you to do because they know what they're capable of holding. They know what they're capable of carrying. They'll tell you, what I need you to do X, Y, and Z. I got the rest. Offer assurance to them if they're talking to you about seeking help. Sometimes that experience can feel lonely, even about going to the doctors. Right? Remember that prostate cancer? Remember the erectile dysfunction? They may need your support for that. Again, your husband, your significant other, your baby father, whoever you're and have an intimate relationship with, they're supposed to be your best friend. You're supposed to know this person inside and out. When my husband come home and he's talking to me a lot, something happened. I'm just waiting to see what happened. Somebody pushed his buttons, and it wasn't me. Okay. So be supportive, because sometimes going to the doctor can feel lonely, and it can be scary. But stay calm. Be patient with them when they are going through those emotions of irritation and frustration. Give them some grace. I say that a lot now. Do you give yourself some grace? When I'm talking to people on the phone and they're telling me how they feel worthless, and they never can do anything right, and they have these things that they need to, this image that they need to, everybody has this image now that they portray to their families, to social media, to their jobs, to their coworkers. They have this image, and they'll tell me all these things, and I'm like, do you give yourself some grace? Give yourself some grace, because we're not perfect. We all make mistakes. We all have fallen short. So be patient and give them some grace. Try not to make assumptions. Don't assume. Let them tell you what's going on. Practice self-care, guys. Self-care. If that's going in the basement of your man cave, sorry, ladies, sorry, and playing the video games for 2 or 3 hours, go ahead and do your thing, bruh. Ladies, I would tell you this, to let them play the video game for 2 to 3 hours, because while they on that game, they're working whatever that's going on out in here. You want them to work that thing out in here, so when they go upstairs, their mind is clear. If they're not working that thing out in here, and some of you ladies are nagging, and they're already overwhelmed and frustrated and irritated, and they can't figure out night from day and how they're going to make these things happen quickly because you keep nagging them, what sometimes happen is a domestic issue. And we won't be real, a domestic issue happens. You're nagging this man, he's trying his best, and you're still on his back. Now I got a twin. I'm telling on you, Kim. I'm telling on you. We know, because we have brothers. Our brothers was taught never to put your hands on a woman. You got sisters for that. Don't put your hand on a woman. My son, don't put your hand on a woman. Now, my sister, she understands that, but she says, just shake her. Just, I don't believe in the shaking. So for their self-care, if they're going away, if they're not going in their man cave, if they're not going to play video games and they want to get out the house and go for a walk and get some fresh air, don't block the door. Don't do that. Don't say, no, you're not going nowhere until this continue. Don't do that. They're trying to get this out. They're trying to clear their head. They're trying to make things happen, because that's what they do. Let them go. Let them clear their head. And don't come when they come back and they get in the bed and they hold you. That means they at that point where they're going to work it out. They're still there. They love you. Don't continue. Well, don't continue with that. Again, give them some grace. If the world is hard for the man outside, why make it hard for him in his house? I know women, we hear this. The man's house is his castle. And I love this in chess. I don't even play chess, but my husband plays it a lot. The queen is the most important piece on the chess game. Make your husband your significant other. You're with them. You have children by this person. His house, his castle. Because the world out there is cold. The world out there is hard. Why he got to come home to that too? Yes, everything's not going to be perfect. Yes, you're not going to agree on everything. And if he's dealing with a mental health illness, understand his diagnosis. understand his diagnosis, get educated on it, understand his diagnosis. If he's going to therapy, maybe ask his therapist if you guys can have a couples therapy. If you guys get stuck on something, and it keeps happening or reoccurring, maybe you can have a couples therapy about that and, try to work that thing out. So, men, this kicks off, and actually, men's health, it starts tomorrow. Men's health awareness starts tomorrow, June 6th to the 13th, I believe. I'll be posting some things up here. I'm going to be posting lots of resources in the chat, in the comment section after I'm done tonight. I do it every night. Men, just make sure, again, you get checked up every year. Your blood pressure has to be on point. Colorectal cancer, your cholesterol, your dentist. You have to, your dentist. People don't understand that your dentist, your teeth, it brings a lot of things together. Right? If you have a toothache, your whole body sometimes shut down. He's saying, and he don't go to the dentist. Again, get your eyes checked if you're missing. And we're older now. We do still need some immunization shots, people. Those infectious diseases, lung cancer, osteoporosis, prostate cancer, skin exams, testicular exams. Get those things done. Get those tests done. Go to your doctors. If you're in church and if you belong to an organization, talk it out. Get a support group. Have that brotherhood, have that connection. And I mean, don't have that connection when you're falling into what was that thing that we were talking about, toxic masculinity. Boys will be boys. Man, man up. Oh, it's hard for everybody. No, get you a connection that you can connect with, that's going to help you through whatever you're going through. Okay, guys. This is the Trap Lounge. I am your trap therapist. Hey now. My name is Kimble Evans. I enjoyed this talk. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.